Hi everyone, it's Sarah Callanan here from the Marsh Opera Kids Love Opera video series, and I'm here today to do a little bonus Q&A. I received some really fantastic questions after my first video, and I really wanted to try to incorporate answers to some of those questions in my next video, but unfortunately I just ran out of time. The video was getting way too long, so I decided to do a dedicated video just for you. I got a fantastic set of questions from the 4th and 5th graders from the Catherine Kolnaski Magnet School, and I was just so impressed with these questions that I wanted to take the time to make a video just for you guys, and hopefully this will benefit everyone else who's watching too. So let's get right into it. How can you hold your breath for a long period of time to hold out long notes? That is a fantastic question. Breath is essentially the foundation of all singing technique, particularly opera singing, because we rely so much on our breath. And there are some exercises that singers can do to strengthen their breath support. And I will show you some of those exercises now. And please join me. Feel free to try these at home. Some of them are a little bit silly, but they're also really effective and kind of fun. So the first exercise is blowing up an imaginary beach ball. So you're going to hiss out all your air on a tss, like a TS sound, like in pizza, and you're going to imagine that you're blowing up a huge beach ball using just the air in your lungs. And you can time yourself. It's really fun. With my students, I sometimes do this in a competition to see whose beach ball can get the biggest. So maybe you can try this with your classmates in school. Here we go. Ready? I probably could have kept going, but I didn't want to turn blue and pass out on camera. So maybe some of you guys have even longer breath support than I do, but that is a great way to sort of determine a baseline of how much breath support you have. And then there are exercises that you can do to strengthen your muscles so that you can get better and better at it. One of them is, I just call it the CH exercise, because you're going to make a ch sound, like a CH. And I find it helpful to find your sternum, that's this bone right here, and kind of push down until it gets squishy. So it's sort of the top of your stomach, the top of your abdominal muscles, and just give a good ch, 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 ch. And you can really feel how these muscles here help propel the air out of your lungs to help propel your sound. So I do a lot of ch, ch, ch in my warm-ups just to get my muscles moving, to get the air flowing. Another good one for that is actually called bubbling, and I'm gonna have a little prop here. I just have a glass of water, not too full or you will make a mess, and a straw, and I just keep the straw lightly between my teeth and I bubble my way through my vocal warm-ups, or even sometimes whole sections of songs. Sounds like this. I don't know how much you could hear over that, and you will definitely get a little bit wet when you do this exercise, so wear a rain poncho and don't be too near any electronics or else you will get water all over your computer. The last one is probably the silliest one, but I also think it is the most effective, and that is panting, what your dog does on a hot summer day. So it's a quick inhale, quick exhale. I also like to pay attention to this muscle and make sure it's active and working, and just do a little and then eventually I try to get faster and faster and faster. And when you're really strong and flexible, you can go really fast. It's almost like the tiny flutter of a hummingbird wing. So tiny that you almost can't feel the air passing in and out. That exercise is also really great for taking quick catch breaths, just a little reflexive breath, so that you won't necessarily hear it. It won't be audible to the audience. So in a long phrase, you might even be able to sneak a quick breath and no one will be the wiser. Our next question comes from Chloe, and they would like to know, how do you make high-pitched sounds? Well, part of it is just biology and the vocal cords that you're born with. Some people just can't sing as high or as low as other singers, and that's just the same way some people are really tall and some people aren't. So part of it is just genetics and what you're born with, but any good voice teacher should be able to, through lots of practice and vocal exercises, help you extend your range in either direction, but it mostly just takes a lot of discipline and a lot of practice, and ultimately you just kind of have to work with the vocal cords you got. How old do you have to be to sing in an opera? To truly be able to sing over a full orchestra in a large opera house with no microphone, you've got to train your voice for a long time. Most people don't start singing professionally at least until their 20s, sometimes later. And I know what you may be thinking. What about all those kids that I see on America's Got Talent and X Factor and all those TV competition shows? They're singing opera. Well, yes and no. As lovely as they sound, and they do, none of those kids are going to be hired to sing in an opera house anytime soon. Again, not because they're not talented, just because they haven't developed the stamina to be able to perform a full opera. They're singing a 2 to 3 minute song with a microphone on television, not a 2 to 3 hour opera with no microphone live. Very different experience. That's not to say that you can't participate in opera as a kid, because you can. Many operas have choruses written specifically for children. I'm actually going to turn this video over for a minute to Rosie and Annie Rossi, who are two young singers who performed in the children's chorus of a recent production of Pagliacci at Salt Marsh Opera.
Hi, I'm Annie. I'm in 7th grade. I'm 13 years old and I'm an alto.
Hi, I'm Rosie. I'm 16 years old and I'm a sophomore in high school. We are at the Rossi Sisters on Instagram. We both live in East Lyme and we were in Pagliacci together, and it was actually our first opera we'd ever done.
Yeah, the cast was so welcoming. They were so nice. We loved it. They took us under their wing immediately, and we would definitely want to do it again.
Yeah, it was such a new experience for us because we had only done either musicals, which have some element of music to them, or plays which have no music in them. And we'd never done something that was all music before, so it was a challenge definitely for us.
I think the hardest part about the whole thing was learning the Italian, and I can only imagine what the leads had to do and to memorize, plus the singing, plus the acting.
Yeah. Another hard thing for us too was not only learning the Italian, but making it sound like we actually spoke the language and making it sound natural and authentic. But overall, it was just such a fun experience. And one of the most fun parts about it for us was definitely learning the music. And then the other part was meeting all of the professional singers and getting to share the stage with them. And it was just such an honor. And we, as soon as this pandemic is over, we're auditioning.
We're doing it again.
Yeah, we loved it.
We will definitely do it again. Bye.
Bye.
So opera really is an art form for all ages. And I encourage you to, I don't know, make some strange sounds. See if your voice has more of an operatic range. Do some of the warm-ups that we introduced you to in the first video, just to see where your vocal range lies and to start exploring all aspects of your voice, so that maybe the next time Salt Marsh Opera is hosting auditions, you can come join us in a show. Our next question comes from Silvio, who wants to know, has your voice ever cracked on stage? Not that I can remember, but it can happen. Oof. But the cool thing is that performer just kept right on going, which is what you should do if you crack or make any mistake. It's always important to never let the audience know when you've made a mistake, because the truth of the matter is half of them won't notice. I think it was Pavarotti who had a quote, and I'm paraphrasing here, when you crack, it means you're almost there. So don't be discouraged if you crack a little. Our next question is from Alicia, who wants to know, what was your most embarrassing performance? Well, Alicia, I assume you mean apart from the time I had to sing an entire opera dressed as a chicken. I'm actually not that embarrassed about it. I mean, clearly not. I'm putting it on the internet for all of the world to see, but it was a great costume and it was really funny. I mean, I guess when you make mistakes, sometimes it can be a little bit embarrassing, but again, if you just move on and get over it, no one will notice. And frankly, you're the only one who's going to be thinking about it after the performance. Let's see. Alexia wants to know, have I ever messed up on stage? Yeah, sure. Lots of times. Most times. Because, Alexia, there is no such thing as a perfect performance. There is always some little thing that goes wrong. Oftentimes that something is out of your control, like the time my heel broke when I was making an entrance, and so my character suddenly developed a limp. Or the time my contact lens popped out of my eye, got stuck to my face, and sat there for the rest of the scene. I don't know if the audience could see it, but I certainly couldn't see them. There was another time I was singing an outdoor concert and a bug flew into my mouth while I was singing, and it was gross. So yeah, stuff happens. Sometimes you just make a mistake. If it's a comedy, use it. If it's a tragedy, keep going and hope no one notices. And again, I keep bringing up this point, but it keeps being true. If you just keep going, no one's gonna notice, or very few people will notice. And those are the things that make live theater special and fun, and the things that make a performance memorable. Okay, next, does food affect your voice? Not in the way most people think it does. A lot of singers, especially young singers, seem to think that if they eat certain foods, it's going to like clog up their voice, maybe not realizing that the esophagus, which is the food tube, and the trachea, which is the air tube, are not the same thing. Food doesn't actually touch the vocal cords on the way down to the stomach. If it does, it's gone down the wrong tube and you will start coughing immediately. That said, some people do have legitimate food sensitivities, and so there are foods that they like to avoid before singing. For instance, I know a lot of singers don't like to eat spicy food or too much dairy before they sing. Other singers find caffeine, like in coffee, to be really drying to their vocal cords. I'm one of those singers. Some singers don't like to feel full when they sing, so they don't eat at all. I am not one of those singers. I like to eat pretty much whenever, but I do try to limit myself to healthy food and with plenty of time to digest before I have to sing. Our next question is what my longest performance was. Most operas are 2 to 3 hours long. Some are even longer, but that doesn't mean you're going to be singing for the full 2 hours. But there is one character that I sing who almost never leaves the stage, and she does sing for more than an hour, which is a significant portion of the opera, and that is Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro. I know there are some roles that are slightly longer and require more stamina, but that's the longest one I've ever performed. What was the first opera piece you ever learned? I learned an aria. And as a reminder, that's the Italian word for a solo song in an opera. My first aria was Monica's Waltz from an opera called The Medium by Giancarlo Menotti. And even though he's an Italian-American composer, it was written in English, and I learned it when I was a senior in high school. Okay, let's see, next question. So Brayden would like to know, when was opera created? Brayden, that is a big question, but I'll try to be brief. The earliest operas were composed in the late 1500s, early 1600s, but the majority of the most popular operas that are performed today were composed in the 18th and 19th centuries. Actually, the opera that you and your classmates are going to be seeing at the end of this video series was composed in the 20th century, in 1918 to be exact. But operas are still being composed today. In fact, some newer operas sound a lot like music theater. I love this next question. Elena wants to know, is opera your entire life? I mean, for a while it kind of was. At the beginning, when I was first discovering the art form, I was studying in college, I threw myself into the deep end of the opera pool and I swam there for quite a while and I loved it. But no, opera is not my whole life. I do tons of things outside of opera. For instance, I love reading, I love writing, I love making videos. I do a lot of home improvement, do-it-yourself type projects around my house. I love road trips. I like hiking and going on adventures with my dog Finch. I also enjoy getting custom portraits painted of my dog dressed as a Regency Lord. So yeah, I do all kinds of crazy stuff. And last but not least, Stella wants to know, what do you feel like on stage? And this is honestly the hardest question to answer because it is one of the greatest feelings in the world and I honestly can't describe it. So I will have to encourage you to try it and experience it for yourself. So that's it for today. Thank you again to the 4th and 5th graders from the Catherine Kolnaski Magnet School. If you have any further questions, you can always email us at saltmarshopera.org or connect with us on social media. Until next time.